Okay, this is the last lesson of chapter 11. It's called Appropriate Measures. And what this means is that we're going to pick which measure is appropriate for what data. So if we look here, it says using mean, median, and mode. For mean, it says the data that have no extreme values. So if everything is pretty close together and there's not one really low or really high, mean is the best option. Medium is the data they have extreme values and there's no big gap in the middle of the data. Mode, anything that has a lot of repeated numbers, best would be mode. Sometimes one measure is more appropriate than others to use to summarize data set. So let's take a look at this first example they gave you. Let me zoom in a little so you can read it. The table shows the number of medals won by the U.S. Which measure of center best represents the data? Then find the measure of center. So we have 112, 101, 97, 103, and 110. In this instance, there's nothing like a really far gap from it. So if we look up here, mean would probably be the best because mode, there's no repeated numbers, and it doesn't have extreme values. So we're using the mean, and then we'll add them together and divide by 5, and you get 104 and 3/4. Now let's take a look at this one. It says the prices of several DVDs are $22.50, $21.95, $21.95, $19.95, $21.95, and $21.95. Which measure of center best represents the data? In this case, it's going to be mode because their $21.95 is repeated 4 times. So mode because of repeated numbers. And the mode is $21.95, and that's all you have to do on that question. Let's take a look at the other side. This is outliers, an appropriate measure. So sometimes it contains an outlier that can kind of mess with your data. So outliers are deviations from the majority of the data. The outlier may affect the measure of center. So what we're going to do is first we're going to identify the outlier. So I'm going to put them in order from least to greatest so it's easier for me to look at. So I have $39.95, $46.50, $47.50, $48.50, $51.95, $52.95, $95, and $78.95. And if we look at it, $78.95 is really far out there, so our outlier is $78.95. So I identified it. Now, we're going to determine how the outlier affects the mean, median, mode of the data. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the mean, median, and mode with the outlier, and then we'll find it without the outlier. So to find the mean, I'm going to add them all together, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'll divide by 7, and you'll get 52.33. Remember, you got to use your calculator. The median, we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so your median is 48.50. And in this case, there is no mode because no numbers are repeated, so we're going to write none. Okay, this next one, so that was with, now we're going to be without. So that means we're going to take the outlier out now and just find the data with that. So mean, now I'm only going to be adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers together. I'm going to add them together, divide by 6, and I get 47.89. The median is now halfway between these numbers. So we add them together and divide by 2. And we get 48. And again, there's no repeated numbers, so the mode is none. Now we're going to tell which measure of center best describes the data with and without. So if we look at it, let's look at the mean. I think the mean was affected mean was affected the most by the outlier. And then if we look at the median, this was 48.50, this was 48, so that didn't change very much. So median, oops, forgot the I. Median was changed very little. So it best describes the data in both cases. And I'm not going to look at the mode because there wasn't a mode. Okay, let's look at the bottom one. The table shows monthly rainfall in inches for 5 months. Identify the outlier in the data set. Determine how the outlier affects the mean, median, and mode of the data. Then tell which measure of center best describes the data with and without the outlier. We're going to round to the nearest 100 if we need to, and then we're going to justify it. So I'm going to start by putting them in order from least to greatest. I'm going to go down here so I have more room. So I have 2.43, 6.14, 6.47, 7.19, 8.38, and 8.63. Okay, outlier is 2.43. Now we're going to do mean, median, and mode with the outlier. And if we do that, we add all 5 numbers together and we divide by 5 and we get 656.54. We go in the middle. We are going to get right here between 6.47 and 7.19. So I'm going to add them together, divide by 2, and I get 6.83. And then again, there are no repeated numbers, so the mode is none. Now we're going to go without. So without the outlier, so I'm going to cross that little guy off. Mean, median, and mode. And I know right off the bat, mode is going to be none because there's still no repeated numbers. The number in the middle now is 7.19. Oh, I'm sorry. The median is 7.19. If I add them all together, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So I'm going to divide. Add them together, divide. I get 7.362. But they tell me to round to the nearest hundredth, so that 2 is going to come off. So I get 7.36. We have the rest of it. Now we're going to justify our selection, or tell which one works better. So if we look here, the mean is at 6.54 with the outlier, 7.36 without. The median is 6.83 with, and 7.19 without. So what we're going to be talking about, I don't have really much space to write it, so I'll just talk about it. The mean rainfall best describes the data without the outlier because it's more of a middle ground. And then the median rainfall best describes the data without or with the outlier. And that's all you have to do on those.